Today started off so well. It was like rainy and cloudy and nice, but now look at this. I mean, is this even Seattle? Where the heck did I move to? What is this? I mean, if I wanted all this sun, I moved to Florida. I'm trying to figure out what's for lunch today, and I really want some soup dumplings, but the only place I know that's open and delivers, haven't had it since the last time, when I ate 100 of them. Remember this video? But the desire for soup dumplings outweighs all else. Just gonna go ahead and get every single dumpling on the menu. Actually, I had to go pick up the order myself. Every dumpling in the dumpling section of the menu, plus a few extras. What I don't want to happen is the dumplings go cold, because they're already probably cold from just transferring from the restaurant to here. So, Big Bertha. A lot of you guys ask me what this grill is, like where can you get it, what brand it is. I have no clue. I look for you guys, like there's not a single marking on this. I mean, even the cover is like, there's no brand, there's no label, there's some Korean words that I can't read. But I just got this from an H Mart, so I guess if you go to a local Korean market, they probably have something like this. But yeah, it's super helpful. I'm gonna just put all my dumplings on here. I'm gonna turn this on to medium heat, and it'll keep my dumplings warm. I can already see the comment section now. Anyway, dumplings gonna go on here. Oh, gotta get some sauce. So I use a little bit of oyster sauce, soy sauce, vinegar, and just a hint of hot oil. You don't want too much, okay? Just a hint. That's about a hint. You hear that sizzle? Then it's just like a dumpling lullaby. So I got every single thing on the dumpling menu except two things actually. They ran out of the truffle dumplings, so I couldn't get that. And I didn't get the veggie dumplings. The veggie dumplings cost just as much as any other dumpling, so I didn't get it purely based on principle. Oh my God, that sizzle is glorious. And Tai Fung is really not my favorite place for soup dumplings. Woo! Be careful. Because I really don't feel like their soup dumplings have that much soup in them. But desperate times, you know? And that's not saying they're bad dumplings. They're actually really good dumplings. But if you've ever been to my recommended restaurants in New York for soup dumplings like Kung Fu, you'll see why like I would prefer that over Tai Fung. They are consistent every single time. Oh, this is such a good idea. I got a little char on the bottom of these dumplings now from Big Bertha. Oh, this is the crab one. So far, the crab's my favorite. I don't think I've actually tried all the different flavors of dumplings that Tai Fung has to offer. I usually just stick with the pork. Oh, the chicken one's really good. These are the kimchi dumplings. Any dumpling that's red just excites me. Take a hot oil bath. Oh, this is actually really good. It actually tastes like fresh kimchi in here. Ooh, the dumplings are so juicy. That was the steamed cod dumpling. That was really, really juicy. Oh, that was so juicy. Tastes like that fish swim into this dumpling. And look at this. I don't know if you can see all that soup that's inside this. Love it when my fish swims around in soup. That is the juiciest dumpling I've had so far. And most of these that I got are pork dumplings. Oh, that's really good too. I was gonna say, you know what? Like, I'm not a smart individual. Like, I don't have the greatest ideas often. But this idea of warming the dumplings on a little Korean barbecue, I'll give myself a pat on the back for this idea. Pork and shrimp. I'm literally living out a fantasy right now. I've had to tell you guys like a good day where I could just sit around and eat something. This will be it. Like over 100 dumplings sitting in front of me. Oh, that thing just erupted. I don't know why, but this is the best Tai Fung experience I've had so far in my life. And the soup is actually hot. And what's great is that the sear from the grill locks the soup inside so it doesn't break as easy. So you can kind of be a little more rough with these dumplings. All right, so in the last scary story time, I promised you guys I was gonna tell you the scariest supernatural experience I've ever had. And it happened in my house. I think this may be better, honestly, than eating at the restaurant. I mean, having a little bit of char on the bottom of your soup dumpling, I never thought it, but now that I've had it, I am completely reevaluating my stance of never getting soup dumpling to go or delivered. This is just as good, if not better, than eating it at the restaurants. I mean, the whole point of a soup dumpling is you gotta keep the soup inside, and this does that. So those of you who don't know, I have a house in the middle of the woods in New York. So it's on top of a little mountain. Don't really love the sticky rice shawmai. Really not a fan of that. Anyway, so this house on top of a mountain, middle of the woods, and it's on a dead-end street. So the house is really quiet, and I don't have many neighbors on the road. I mean, I have neighbors. I think there's maybe like 8 houses or so on the entire road. And the road is pretty long. So if I wanted to walk to my nearest neighbor's house, or probably from my house, if I wanted to just like physically walk somewhere, it'll probably still take me about 10 minutes. And I don't really know many of my neighbors, except for my neighbor on the left side of my house. She's someone I know. It's actually a friend of mine. She lives over there. But that's it. That's the only people I know. So this was on I think on a random like Wednesday or Thursday night or something like that. And I remember that night because usually it's kind of windy at the house, so you do hear a little bit of wind, but that night, nothing. Pure silence. And it was really, really dark. It was cloudy, the moon wasn't out, you couldn't see anything outside. Sorry, I'm still so hungry, so I've been one biting these dumplings. Anyway, quiet night. And at this point, it was about 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning. I was watching Hawaii Five-0. So I was sitting on the couch watching Hawaii Five-0. Basically, that's like the only thing I do when I'm not working is laying somewhere and watching Netflix or Hulu or something like that. So I'm watching the show. And all of a sudden, like, I hear something. And I'm not even sure that I heard it. So I'm like straining my ears to try to like pick it up. Like, what is this? What am I hearing? Because I remember thinking, if I am hearing what I think I'm hearing, I might pee my pants. And I hear like really, really soft, like a whisper. I hear kids singing. Like, I kid you guys not, I am 100% not joking right now. I hear kids singing. And I remember at that moment, I was looking at the TV, I'm like, oh my God, please be from Hawaii Five-0. Like, I'm looking at the TV, I'm searching for a scene where there might be children singing, but it was like a car chase. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm still like hoping, you know, like you get to that point where you're just like, this can't be real. This cannot be real. So then I had a decision to make. I could either keep the volume up on the TV and just like pretend I don't hear anything, I never heard anything, just life goes on, or I could turn down the TV and validate exactly what I'm hearing. Because at that point, I'm still like not 100% sure I'm hearing it, but I was like at 85%. So then after a quick prayer, I was literally like, oh God, please, please be from the TV. When I turn down the volume of the TV, please be gone, please be gone, please be gone. So I turn down the volume of the TV and I hear it slightly clearer now. It's almost like, it sounds like a whisper in the wind. You know, like when someone whispers from a distance, that's kind of like what I was hearing. But it was unmistakably kids or somebody was singing. The sound was so low, you really had to strain your ears and concentrate to hear it more clearly. And I realized it sounds like it's coming from outside my door. Oh, that's a sesame dumpling. Oh, that's just horrible. I mean, the paste is good, just a little too sweet, a little too much. As the great Charles Barkley would have said, that is just terrible, terrible. So I just realized the sound, it seems to be coming from outside my front door. Not directly outside, but it's coming from that direction. So again, I was faced with a choice, like, should I go check and see what that is? I mean, this is literally how people die in horror movies, right? And I'm literally standing there and I'm hearing this singing. And I remember begging and praying that I was like, maybe it's better if I was insane. Maybe I'm just hearing things in my head. Like, that'd be a whole lot better than if actually I am hearing this, so maybe I'm just going crazy. That'd be much better. Like, seriously, ghost kids, insanity. I'd rather be here. So anyway, I was faced with a choice. Should I go check on this? Like, open door, see where the singing was coming from, or just like stay inside, lock everything, turn on all the lights, and turn up the volume on the TV. But the curiosity at the end of the day got the better of me. So I first went and got my samurai sword. Yeah, I have a samurai sword. I live in the woods. Are you crazy? You don't have a samurai sword? If you live in the woods, you gotta have a samurai sword. So I got my samurai sword. So according to Supernatural, I would at least be able to kill a witch because it's iron. And I remember thinking like, should I go grab the salt? But then I was like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's fine. And I grabbed the sword and I turned on every single light in my front lawn, which is not a lot of lights. I have like 2 lights there. I turn them on and I walk slowly to my front door. Again, this is like 1:30, 2 a.m. in the morning. I unlock it and I gently open the door just a little bit. And the singing grew slightly more audible. I was 100% sure I'm hearing this now. Again, it's not like I opened the door and it was like loud and there was like a source where it kind of came from. I was 100% sure it was like, oh, it's coming from right there. It's still a gentle whisper. I mean, slightly louder because the door was open, but it was still so low. And I'm standing there trying to pinpoint exactly where the singing is coming from. It seems to be coming from across the road. Now, there is a house across the road, my neighbor Daryl's house. It is across the road. But here's the thing. Nobody has lived in that house for years. It's an abandoned house. I know it's Daryl's because he stopped by to say hi before, but he doesn't live there. No one is staying there. But the singing was definitely coming from across the road. At that point, I was thoroughly spooked. So again, I was making one last desperate attempt to explain this. And I know my friend who lives about 10 minutes walk from me, I know she sings karaoke sometimes. She likes karaoke. So I'm like, maybe she's just singing karaoke over there and it just sounds like it's coming from across the street. So I text my friend. I wish I could show you guys this text. I text my friend, and I can't show it to you because it was on my old iPhone when I switched to a Samsung. So I text my friend Rachel and I'm like, hey, are you karaokeing right now? No response. So I'm kind of clinging onto that one last hope. I'm like, maybe it's just Rachel karaokeing. Like, maybe that's all it was. So I lock the door, I turn on every single light in the house, I sleep with my sword, with the TV on, volume turned high to drown out the singing. Next morning I wake up, text back from Rachel. No, I went to bed at 10 p.m. last night. What the heck? I heard little kid ghosts singing in the woods across the street from me. I mean, you gotta put yourself in my situation, all right? Like, I live in the woods by myself, like on a dead end road. You know, like this house is crazy when I bought it. The first night I was about to move in, I don't know if you guys remember this, I made a video about this, like my basement door was open when I went over there, when I went to the house. This is the first time I'm about to go into the house, I'm about to like sleep in the house the first night. I got there at like 10 p.m., which is already a bad idea. And the basement door was open. And the basement door, of course, leads to my living room and leads to the rest of the house. I actually like stuck my head through the door and I was like, hello? Any killers in here? I did that. What was I expecting? Like murderer going, yeah, I'm down here. You can just give you like 2-minute head start. On the outside, it is really spooky. Inside is not as much, but outside it is really spooky, right? It's got the spooky barn in the back, and the barn has like a staircase inside, so someone could literally be living in my barn. I wouldn't even know it. Don't get any ideas. I have security cameras and stuff, but that was the most terrifying experience. It never happened again. Never happened again. That was the most terrifying experience I've ever had in my life. Anyway, speaking of which, next story I'm telling you guys is from Japan. This is an urban legend. So I don't know if this is actually happening or not, but the story goes that a newlywed couple in Japan, they moved into an old house. So the husband is at work every single day, and the wife is staying home, taking care of the home. So when they just move in, and the husband went off to work, after he gets off work, he comes back later that day, he's walking upstairs in the stairwell, and all of a sudden, at the end of the hallway upstairs, he finds this red crayon laying on the floor. And he was like, oh, that's strange, because obviously he doesn't have any kids, so where did this crayon come from? Then he just dismissed it. He's thinking like, okay, it's probably left over from the previous owner. It probably rolled into the hallway somehow. So he doesn't think too much of it. He picks it up, throws it in the garbage. Next day, comes back from work, goes upstairs, walks down the hallway, sees another red crayon on the floor. Again, he's confused, but he didn't really think too much of it. He took it, threw it in the garbage again. Third day, same thing. Gets off work, goes upstairs, walks down the hallway, red crayon on the floor. So now he's really confused. So he asks his wife, he's like, did you know I found a red crayon every single time I went upstairs the last 3 days? And she looks at him, she turns all pale. And she said, when you are off at work, every morning I will find a red crayon at the end of the hallway. And she's freaking out. And the wife is like really freaked out. So the husband goes upstairs, he's just confused, he goes upstairs. And he looks at the hallway and he realizes that the hallway is a lot shorter than it should be. So he walks to the end of the hallway and he taps on the wall. And the sound came back really hollow. So he realized that there's something behind this wall. So he strips off the wallpaper. At this point, like the wife's begging him not to do it. He strips off the wallpaper and he sees a sliding door behind the wallpaper. So he slides open the door and sees a little room with just a stool, a little chair inside, and all over the wall, scribbled in red crayon, are the words, "Mommy, I'm sorry, please let me out." What I tell you about them kid ghosts? So creepy. Can I do one more? I don't know if this is gonna make the video too long, but I love telling ghost stories. I love telling scary stories. This is a story I read about several years ago. And all these stories I've actually found in research for Beyond Science. And this story happened in a city called Ishinomaki. And this was actually a survey done, I think, by a graduate student. She was doing a survey asking all the taxi drivers, she asked like 100 taxi drivers in the city, whether they've experienced anything supernatural. Because what happened in that city was that back in 2011, a tsunami swept through the city. So part of the city is still unlivable. No one is there. And thousands of people unfortunately lost their lives in the tsunami. So she was going around asking these taxi drivers whether they experienced anything supernatural. And a lot of the taxi drivers said they have, with one of the taxi drivers telling this story. He was driving one night. All of a sudden, a young girl stops his cab. So he, of course, lets her in. And then she gives him the address where she wants to go. But the address she gave him was for a part of town that was uninhabited, hasn't had anyone living in there for years. So he asked her, he's like, are you sure this is where you want to go? Like, no one is living here. Then he said, she just looked at him and said, am I dead? And just disappeared. And he even showed the girl the log, because Japanese taxi drivers, they always keep a log of when they picked up someone and when they dropped the person off. He even showed her the log of when he picked her up. But the drop-off part was empty. So basically, she totally ghosted him. I'm sorry, I had to. Anyway, I really enjoy these creepy story time with you guys. Creepy stories are always my favorite. I've always been really fascinated with like ghosts and spirits. Like, this is part of my life that no one really knows about. Well, that's why I created Beyond Science, but I love talking about the supernatural. I love talking about unexplained stuff. So if you like this stuff as well, let me know in the comments below so I know which stories to tell more of. And also, if you could, please give this video a thumbs up. I would appreciate that. All right, we did pretty well. We did over, we ate a lot of dumplings. And I'm still good, but now it's gonna be Mike and food and Netflix private time. So thank you guys so much for watching. Till we talk, tell stories, eat again. See you later.